also believe that people who replace their breakfast with black coffee, that's going to trouble their health, increase the amount of acid production.
Is Turkish coffee also served like Turkish ice cream where you have to?
No.
Just wanted to know.
1 cup of coffee, average it out to about 80 to 100 mg of caffeine. So that's why we say about 2 coffees a day, because there are other foods that also contain caffeine.
Okay, so at Radio 1, you just don't get coffee, you also get a message behind, a cute message.
My says, I drink and I know things. I hope this happens with this episode.
It's the fortune cookie form of coffee that we have over here. And well, today we've addressed the elephant in the room. We are talking about coffee in the health hustle. This is what we call this part of the show. And we are joined by 2 wonderful people. We have Suman Agarwal, who's of course a celebrity nutritionist. He's been in the game for 24 years. And we have her daughter, Dr. Juhi Agarwal, who's a nutritionist and also a diabetologist. And today we are talking about coffee. The episode's called Been There, Done That. There's been a lot of debate about coffee and its consumption. You know, we had Varun Dhawan going to a podcast recently and saying that having black coffee first thing in the morning is not healthy for you. Straight off the bat, my first question for the both of you all. You all have opposing views on that. We want to hear for and against. So what do you think?
Yeah, so I would say that a lot of people, okay, we want to have a bullet coffee in the morning with addition of some fat or ghee or etc. and the black coffee, and then I go for exercise. I believe that having coffee first thing in the morning can actually, your stomach is already acidic, and having another acid on top of that, what Varun Dhawan says is right. I have faced with a lot of my clients who are used to having coffee and complaining about its acidity. So I would say that start your day with maybe warm water with lime and honey to calm your system, given then the goodness of honey at the same time and lime. And or maybe nothing, or maybe some just almonds which are soaked at night. But Juhi.
I don't agree with that entirely. Okay, so I agree that yes, coffee can increase acidity because it does make your this lower esophageal sphincter, which is what actually blocks the acid from coming back up. It opens that up a little. And second is it increases this hormone gastrin secretion, which increases acid production in your stomach. So with that aspect, I'm with more.
Yeah.
However, and I also believe that people who replace their breakfast with black coffee, that's going to trouble their health, increase the amount of acid production, etc. through the day. However, the people who need that shot of black coffee in the morning to get their workout in or want to increase their endurance training, it's not a bad idea if your gut is not sensitive to it. So there are your body, every single person has a different tolerance or sensitivity to coffee. So you need to understand what suits your body. If black coffee in the morning is helping you get your, find that
pep up
of energy in the morning for your workout without causing the side effects like an uneasy stomach or acidity, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't replace it for a meal, and don't have it as a meal. But yes, you can have it. You have to try and see trial and error and see how your body responds to it.
Wonderful, wonderful. We have something for everyone out here. You know, I would also actually like to ask this question to you all. For a lot of people, coffee is a laxative.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, coffee can lead to the absolute
constipation.
Yeah. So, what do you all think about this? Like, is it? Like you said, you know, it could differ from body to body, whether your body is more alkaline or acidic. So, what do you all think about this?
For me, coffee is literally constipation. So a lot of people who come with constipation, I tell them remove coffee.
Right.
And I give them like maybe green tea or dip tea, etc. And a lot of people who are already having a laxative effect and they like it by having a cup of coffee in the morning, I said go for it if that's solving your problem.
I think it's more like type A personality versus type B. Maybe
Achha.
I feel like type A personalities who are a little more anxious probably react differently to coffee, where it can cause a more laxative effect, versus people who are type B can have a more constipating. So it's trial and error. You have to see how it suits
But
you.
you're right about it. It has different, absolutely opposite reaction.
Right. Well, then on the other hand, we have a lot of people who need numerous cups of coffee to stay afloat through the day. How many cups of coffee is permissible to someone? We are taking the average Joe, for example, the average person, for example. How many cups is permissible without any side effects?
So I would say one, if you're a coffee lover or a drinker, a cup of coffee with breakfast is okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and or maybe mid-morning, and then maybe one in the evening, but max 2 to 3. 3 is little extra.
Yeah.
But here we have people who are literally having 7 to 8 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
In fact, we had one client coming who was from Bollywood, and because they have so they have long hours of working, and they were literally on coffee whole day and very little food, because of course you can feel
it's an appetite suppressant.
It is an appetite
and it's
suppressant.
0 calories. Black coffee is essentially 0 calories. So.
Yeah, and also it dehydrates you, so one looks slimmer, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that was also causing a lot of like fainting spells, etc. So the best way to have coffee is, of course, never replace them with your meal.
Yeah.
Have maximum 3 in a day, and also type of coffee, which is the amount of caffeine in your coffee.
Right.
Scientifically speaking, your recommended amount is about 400 mg of caffeine per day. Caffeine is also present in other foods. So coffee or tea is not the only factor that's contributing to your caffeine intake. That's why, and 1 cup of coffee, average it out to about 80 to 100 mg of caffeine. So that's why we say about 2 coffees a day, because there are other foods that also contain caffeine, number one. Number two, there's also a tolerance to caffeine you end up developing. So you'll need more of coffee over a period of time. If you regularly have 2 cups of coffee, you will need more coffee to feel its stimulant effects.
Yeah.
So that's why you keep increasing it till you reach your 7 to 8 coffees.
Yeah.
If you are mindful and decide that, hey, I'm going to have just 2 or 3 cups a day, at least you're going to stick to it in the long run and like get the benefits of it without getting the negative effects of having excess.
Also, 200 ml might be having just 100 mg, right? But the talls, any cafe produced coffees are literally 400 ml.
Agreed.
That would have much higher quantity.
Agreed.
So one must not forget that most important factor about caffeine intake is the quality of sleep.
Yeah.
I wear this Aura ring,
Okay.
which of course checks my sleep, the deep sleep and the REM sleep and the heart rate at when it has gone lowest. Whenever I've had my caffeine much later in the day or in the evening, my heart rate has been higher. That means my heart is not getting the rest.
Yeah.
And also, the deep sleep is disturbed. It's
Yeah.
not as deep as it would be.
Yeah.
And also my REM is disturbed. And the sleep is literally the foundation of our good health.
Right.
If the sleep is not proper, all dominoes fall. Whether it's your exercise, whether the amount of food you take, an amount of coffee, which will actually go much more next day. Because you want to be awake because you've not had a good night's sleep. So finishing your caffeine intake by 4:35 is extremely important.
Okay, so ma'am, you just spoke about, how having coffee can affect with the quality of your sleep as well and your sleep cycle in general. I would like to ask you, a lot of people equate their coffee consumption to their blood pressure levels. What amount of coffee can tamper with your blood pressure levels?
So yes, coffee can temporarily increase your blood pressure or your heart rate, but research has not proven that regular permissible amount of caffeine or coffee through the day can lead to increased risk of hypertension or fluctuating blood pressure levels. So we can't directly link the two, but yes, practically it does, because it affects your central nervous system and gives you that energy boost, increases your dopamine, increases your serotonin and your adrenaline. It can cause a sudden or a temporary rise in your blood pressure or heart rate.
Right.
Okay.
So overall, having coffee may not be like, okay, your pressure will fall. That's not the true thing.
Absolutely. Coffee consists of caffeine. That is essentially the reason why a lot of people, consume coffee. What is the right amount of caffeine consumption that a human body should go through?
For adults, 400 mg.
Yeah.
For pregnant women, 200 mg. But
I
we
would not
would
give.
not give only.
Okay.
And for children also, so mom has never allowed us to have any sort of caffeine growing up.
But
till
why?
we were 18. So you will explain that. Till we were 18. So we had our cold coffees only on Sundays. It was once a week that we used to have cold coffees. No chewing gums that had caffeine, no energy drinks, none of all of this available.
No
in the market.
caffeinated energy drinks.
Caffeinated energy drinks. And she would explain to us why, and that's how we stuck to it. And that was?
So because what happens is caffeine hampers the calcium and iron absorption for kids, and most important mineral they require for height growth, for girls who are going to start their menstrual cycle, iron. Right? Yeah. So these two are, and zinc also. These three factors are extremely important when it comes to teenagers who are these are the only years girls till the age of 16 and boys till the age of 22, where they can grow height. No matter what you do after that, you're not going to grow an half an inch or 1 millimeter. So that is why we don't allow kids to have caffeine in their meal on a daily basis, because I have seen myself that. So it's not that only coffee can hamper your height growth. Not having enough calcium-rich food also will hamper your height growth. But caffeine is of course going to remove all calcium from every food.
It basically increases the calcium excretion in your body, so that's why.
Right.
So for children, even though the limit is 100 mg, like no coffee or tea through the day.
And also the pregnant women, about the how caffeine, if taken during pregnancy, of course does not allow calcium to get absorbed, so that the child's bone, the fetus's bone development can be hampered. But there are other factors.
Like it basically crosses through the placenta. So if you, like a pregnant woman drinking a cup of coffee, the caffeine can pass through the placenta and reach the fetus. This can reduce the blood flow and the oxygen, especially in the third trimester. Okay, so again, we will only recommend it to pregnant clients who are like, listen, we cannot start our day without coffee. So that's only when we say, okay, this is your allowed amount. Generally we don't allow.
Or we tell them to get a decaf.
Decaf, yes. Which is the next question for you all. You know, when there's a problem, there's a solution. A lot of people are, substituting coffee with decaf coffee. Is it any good? And what are the benefits?
So the benefit of decaf is, of course, it does not have caffeine. So side effects of caffeine are not there. And of course, the anxiety and the acidity and all that goes lower because they're having a decaf.
So people who have issues, who are more anxious, people who are more sensitive to coffee, pregnant women, and people who have trouble sleeping at night. These people,
and acidity. Distress and gut issues.
So these people would benefit from switching to the decaf version of coffee, because you're still getting your flavonoids and your polyphenols, which are the benefits of having coffee, and you're not getting the caffeine, which is actually troubling you.
Right.
And the taste, the emotional support.
For the people who want to get rid of the habit of having coffee, copious amounts of coffee as a coping mechanism during the course of the day, how do you cut down coffee? What is the right amount of duration that you sort of cut down your coffee consumption?
So I would, like, suppose if I want to cut down my tea coffee consumption, I would switch to maybe those herbal concoction like hibiscus tea or chamomile tea or any of those herbal teas available, or maybe have if I'm feeling like having, instead of the cold brewed coffee, I would go for maybe like a
cold brew tea or nimbu pani.
Nimbu pani, actually. Our Indian homemade shikanji is the best.
Shikanji for the win. Yes.
Best drink to have, literally.
Completely.
Yeah, completely. So yeah, I would go for those. And coconut water. Yeah.
Basically, you're bored, and that's why you keep running for that cup of coffee.
A lot of time people want to drink water, but they can't think of water because it's so boring. So they think of coffee, which further dehydrates them. This is what I do sometimes.
So you just mentioned how coffee causes dehydration. You know, a lot of people are trying to figure that out for themselves. You know, whether they should be having water post coffee consumption, or do they add more water to their coffee, or what is the right way to sort of regulate the fact that your body, because it's made largely of water, and if you are depriving it of that, it could be an issue. So how do you combat the dehydration caused by coffee?
So I would say whenever anyone who's having tea, coffee, and maybe more cups during the day, like maybe when we are shooting like this, I can only think of, because I have to think of tea, coffee. So every cup of tea, coffee, I tell my clients, you have to, within half an hour, you have to have a glass of water.
What do you think about this?
I don't think coffee is inherently dehydrating. It's the type of coffee you drink. If you're going to have like a double espresso, of course it's going to be dehydrating, because it's a concentrated amount of coffee in a single shot. So that's when you need to make sure you have like a glass of water or two, like Mum is saying, after. But if you're having a tall glass of coffee or a cold brew, whatever the effects of the coffee may be in terms of the diuretic effect, which is the one that removes all the water from your body, you're actually replenishing it with the volume of coffee you're having.
No. I don't. Listen to me.
It differs.
Okay, you start your day, you had your coffee at 11 for your breakfast, then you want to have another cup of coffee, say at 11, but that is the time you're supposed to have a glass of water, but you're having coffee. Okay, so that is of course going to go out. So where is the hydration left in your body? So you have to have coffee and a glass of water to have the hydration.
I'd like to have some popcorn. So now that we've spoken at length about coffee, what is the right way of making coffee? You know, you have instant coffees, you have the roasted beans, you have French presses. What is the right way of making coffee that's suitable to your body?
So I would say that instant coffee is actually lower in caffeine content, but has lesser benefits which coffee gives, which is the flavonoids and polyphenols, etc. And whereas the French press and other forms of roasted bean coffee,
like unfiltered coffee,
has their own benefit in terms of like they have more flavonoids and more nutrients. But at the same time, because the French press is brewed for a very long time, it has a issue of, like, you know, I have always told my client that don't boil your coffee because it raises your LDL. So that's what it does. It has a scientific reason, which Dr. Juhi will tell you. So the it's not that I'm against French press. Of course, it tastes better. It has more nutrients. But instant coffee
and it's cooler to make.
Yeah, it's cooler to make and sounds very elite and everything. And people have their many fancy machines. And of course, it is great like that. But the side effects would be much higher caffeine content.
They both have their pros and cons. Instant coffee is much more convenient. Like Mum said, it has a lower caffeine content. Because it's processed.
It is 30 mg to 60 mg.
Yeah,
in a cup around 200. Yeah.
It has it is more processed, so it has lesser amount of the beneficial nutrients. It can have more of the acrylamide, which is a toxic compound. But on the other hand, unfiltered coffees or French presses can increase your cholesterol. So they basically have something called as caffeine, and that is what interferes with your body's cholesterol excretion in the body, and therefore like 5 cups of that have shown to increase your cholesterol by, let's say, 6 to 8%, LDL specifically. However, with that being said, you're not going to have 5 to 6 cups of French press. You're probably going to do one. So I think it just depends on what your preferences are in terms of taste and convenience to choose between.
You know, we just spoke about French press. You know, like you mentioned, you know, your double espresso shots are a thing. A lot of people have them. Is that a good alternative, or once in a while is something that a body can sort of adapt to? What do you guys think about that?
No, double espresso is
very acidic.
Very acidic, highly concentrated. Just this much can have 65 mg of caffeine.
Each shot. Right. So that makes it a lot more.
Yeah.
But what that does is it gives you a sudden like spurt of energy.
Yeah.
But it comes with its own side effects of acidity and dehydration.
Yeah. And what about Turkish coffee? What do you think about Turkish coffee?
So Turkish coffee is similar to French press because it's a concentrated form. It's the same thing, like similar to an espresso. Yeah. So again, more acidic, more caffeine content, better energy rush, and can increase your LDL.
Okay. Yeah. Is Turkish coffee also served like Turkish ice cream where you have to...
No.
Just wanted to know.
I don't even want to go to that counter. And I really feel pity for those children or the adults who are being like...
Yes, absolutely. But it's so cool. Like how they managed to do it is really cool. You know, my last question for you all in this episode of ours of the Health Hustle has to be about coffee being coupled with sugar. What is the right amount of sugar? You know, a lot of people have demonized sugar, and rightly so. But what is the right amount of sugar that you should be having ideally with your coffee?
Not more than a teaspoon for sure. And if you're sticking to your 2 coffees a day, 1 teaspoon each is absolutely fine.
Right.
But if you're a diabetic, no.
Many of my clients who come to me, I have given up sugar in tea, coffee, ma'am. So I'm going to really lose weight. I said, yeah, very good. And what about desserts? Oh, that I have every day. I mean, literally, you're trading off 20 calories of 1 teaspoon of sugar with dessert, which is 250 calories of like this size. So imagine 20 calories and 250. Take sugar in tea, coffee, which is 2 teaspoons, as Dr. Juhi said, is max, which we allow, which is 40 calories. Vis-a-vis the dessert.
At least that's going to keep you going and not let you reach out for all
And because of this, many of my clients have said that, listen, because you gave us 2 teaspoons of sugar in your tea, coffees, we don't feel like having desserts anymore. See?
And that's such a
great trade-off.
Yeah, it's a great trade.
Also, as we know, because of so many cafes which have sprung up in India in last 20 years, and for all Gen Z or whichever, they all think having coffee is a in thing and it is the thing to do. Yeah. Okay, so all these girls come with me with black coffee and they want to lose weight and they say it's very cool and I'm really doing the right thing because 0 calorie, etc., etc. And I tell them sometimes coffee may not be the right thing for your body.
Yeah.
And sometimes you are not knowing are actually not losing weight because your body does not agree with this. So as soon as I remove coffee from their diet and give them healthier or lesser caffeine intake, like maybe a dip tea or some herbal teas which has caffeine.
Yeah.
Okay. So they start losing weight fantastically.
Yeah.
Because
So,
it takes a toll on your gut and it can affect your sleep. Both of these are very directly and indirectly related to weight loss.
Weight loss,
If you don't sleep well at night, the next day your hunger hormones are high. You're not going to be able to stick to a calorie deficit diet, which is going to help you lose weight. And second is if it's something that's troubling your gut, you're not going to be able to digest and absorb the food that you're actually eating, which you need for energy.
yeah, like we have people coming who have been having copious amount of milk or milk products and they don't lose weight at all. So as soon as we reduce that, because we have to give first class protein and increase some other form of protein, they start losing weight.
Yeah.
Similarly, we have people who are allergic to gluten, and when we remove or reduce their gluten intake in their diet in terms of bread or semolina or pasta or roti or chapati and introduce them other forms of grains, they start losing weight a lot. Same way, when we remove coffee and give them other healthier alternatives to caffeine, they start losing weight wonderfully.
Yeah.
So if you are someone who's trying to lose weight and you're not able to, and you have a lot of coffee, try this method. Remove coffee and maybe add some other caffeine. Maybe you'll start losing weight.
And it's not just about coffee, which is filled with milk and sugar. It's also just black coffee.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So 0 calorie can essentially be a myth because it depends on the adaptability of your body.
Body.
Super.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, on that note, on my superb note, we are going to end this episode. Thank you so much to the both
Thank
of
you,
y'all.
Bhaarat.
It's so much fun doing the health hustle with the both of y'all. And we're going to be back with another episode. Do tune in for that as well. You can like, share, subscribe to Radio 1 International. And the next episode is an interesting one. We would really want for y'all to tune in for that.
So leave a comment with how many cups of coffee you drink per day.
And mention how many ml is your per cup of coffee.
94.3 Radio 1.